So we wanted to give you a little bit of the science behind it to realize that this is not just something that's coming out of someone's head. This is something that's really scientific. That's what's so exciting about it. And it goes back to actually Einstein. In 1935, there was Einstein, Podolsky, and Rosen, and together they looked at spooky action at a distance. Going back before that, you have Parmenides in the Greek saying that the whole universe is a plenum. So my philosophy is, the first thing you have to know about remote viewing, how do you make it work, is you have to know that it can work. And that's part of what the science is all about. I'm going to say a little bit more, but introduce my husband for a few moments.
Right, we're social scientists, linguists, archaeologists, and remote sensing specialists. I have worked with some of the top people, the upper 2% of world scientists in the United States and in Russia, who left behind the communist system to see the importance of the free world and how the powers of the consciousness mind can implement great breakthroughs in all areas of science, archaeology. And to illustrate this, I brought two of our books. One is entitled The End of Suffering with Russell Targ. He and Harold Pudoff were the co-founders of remote viewing at Stanford Research Institute, which is the leading government think tank back in the 1970s. And they worked with something on the order of $20 million to disprove the power of the mind. And they wound up with doing just the opposite, showing the mind has a tremendous non-local ability to reach to the universe.
During the weeks you're being studied, you're studying this technique, but ultimately the picture here of this book is done by Ingo Swann, and he was the one that really started remote viewing in terms of a science in the United States, because he got together with Hal Puthoff and said, look, I can do this. Why don't we test it? Because it is scientific. Spooky action at a distance means that what happens in one place is reacted to in another place. They've done everything from photons and electrons. If you pair electrons together and then you separate them, maybe Chinese have even done this on satellites, and you turn the spin of one of those paired electrons on Earth, they have noticed that the one in space that they're watching and analyzing as well actually immediately shifts as well, faster than the speed of light. So what does that mean? That means we are all completely interconnected, even on a subatomic level. That's what's so important to realize. And a lot of the remote viewers that Russell and Hal worked with, Hal eventually got Russell involved, and the two of them requested finances, even from the CIA, to prove this. But I just want to say, okay, go ahead, Dr.
Just you see this on the painting behind where we're sitting. We have space technology, building cities in space for the future of humanity, the ability to not only see into space, into our space futures, but to understand that we're taking a great leap from humankind to space kind. And remote viewing should be used with the idea of showing how the human race will graduate to the fact that we're going to use not only the five senses, but also the sixth sense.
And I just want to say, in terms of remote viewers, you think, well, you're going to go look at something that Alan's going to tell you to look at, and maybe it's somewhere in, Canada or something like that. You don't actually go there with the power of your mind. You are there with the power of the mind. This is what they know, did the real study. You are everywhere. You are at that space. Ingo Swann was remote viewing Jupiter, and he saw rings before we even knew Jupiter had rings. He was there. He didn't even have to take the time to wander there. Helen Hammond showed how people walked around the Kremlin and reported everything that she was seeing. This is really what it's all about. This is spooky action at a distance. We are all interconnected.
We also like to recommend through our website, keysofenoch.org, this book, which is really the Bible of remote viewing. It's a book put together by Dr. Elizabeth Rauscher and ourselves. We published a few years ago, but it's really the top scientific research behind the scenes, the real X-Files.
Mind dynamics.
Mind dynamics in space and time.
And we were in Egypt, and she was remote viewing from Phoenix all the way to Egypt, and she was 100% on. She used to remote view even the food store. You don't have to use this for military. You don't have to use this for, travel and tourism, so to speak. You can use it for everyday life, like where's your keys?
The book is full of illustrations and marvelous pictures and documents of over 30 experiments, were we able to look at distant targets. I'm seeing here on this one page, my positioning inside a hotel in Jerusalem. She was able to pick up on the details of the floor, the background, the geometries of color. This is also at the University of Cairo in Egypt. She was able to pick up on details. And this is the upper 1% of all of the top reviewers worldwide who understand the power of the mind, its enhancement in context of the laws of three-dimensional science expanded into fifth-dimensional science.
Theory of 8 space, which is almost like 8-dimensional space, that when you use the plenum and you connect with it, you're actually being in an overview effect of all of reality, in an 8-dimensional reality. And you can actually know, and they've shown this at SRI, past, present, and future as well. In fact, one time someone was remote viewing from SRI and they saw this old water tank at a location that they were supposed to be remote viewing. They said, oh, he's wrong. And then they looked through history books and that water tank was exactly at that spot.
A different period of time.
Exactly. You know, actually, the most recent Nobel Prize in physics went to actually quantum physics with Clauser, who also, well, it started with Rosen, Podolsky, and Einstein in 35. Then it went to Bell and Bell's theorems in the 60s. Then it went to Clauser and also to Alain Aspect. He's in France.
As well as Anton Ziegler in Austria.
And all those people, then the last 3 got the Nobel Prize for understanding this interconnectedness.
Otherwise, our colleague Elizabeth Rauscher would have gotten the Nobel Prize, and she wrote over 450 scientific papers. So this is important for skeptics. Those of you who have sons and daughters or relatives who will laugh at you, say, no, the proof of the pudding is on our side. The top scientists in the world in mathematics, physics, parapsychology, and linguistics have worked behind the scene on top secret projects. They've broken through the Soviet code. They were able to find, through our work, archaeological wonders in ancient Egypt. And now it's up to us with this positive knowledge to use, because there's so much negativity out there in the public spectrum of television. Violence, 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 violence. We got to turn this around.
I Spies, the Amazon Prime.
I'm going to talk about that.
All right,
Well, thank you, JJ and Desiree Hurtak, Keys of Enoch, Book of Knowledge. They'll be with me at the expo, coming to the Conscious Life Expo.
Thank you so much, Ellen. And
Thank
good
you,
luck
Jay.
all of you. Stay in touch, because we work together as a team, and you must understand the importance of putting your minds together, because as you multiply consciousness and, should we say, a new psychology of positive thinking, you will receive the benefits of unified theories.
Thank you, JJ. JJ Hurtak, ladies and gentlemen.